The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary-related entertainment.
Oh, that must mean Christmas is over. Oh, how sad. During the month of December, we play Christmas music leading up to Christmas. But, I mean, it's nice to have our familiar music back, and now everybody knows what show they're listening to before I start talking. But that was fun, and it always is to have the Christmas music, and I hope everyone is enjoying the holidays. It's only half over, folks. We still have New Year's coming up, and another 3.5 or 4 day weekend for a lot of people. So, I'm still getting, when I correspond with people either by email or call them, I get messages like they'll be back on the 8th of January, and oh no, come on. So we got people who are still leaving on that vacation, as well as those who have been gone for Christmas and are not coming back until the next few days. Anyway, aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, where each week you will find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support those with needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's Cabinet and Appliance Showroom located in the Waikapu Base Yard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. For those of you who may be listening for the first time to this weekly show, during the hour we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today we have two agencies with us. We have Rob Lane, who's the CEO, and Valerie Sly, who's the Program Director for the Arc of Maui County. Everybody calls it the Arc of Maui, but it's the whole county because you do have Lanai and Molokai, right?
That's correct.
Cool. And in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking with Anthony Acosta, who is the Development Director for Maui AIDS Foundation.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Nice to be back.
Pretty good. We'll hear more from Anthony in a half an hour, but right now we're going to concentrate on the Arc of Maui County. Maybe, Rob, just give us kind of an introduction. I know a lot of people out there maybe not familiar with your name, although the ARC has been around since, 54?
54, that's right.
So everybody should know it.
They should know it. ARC has been around since 54, and the goal in that entire time has stayed pretty consistent, and that's been essentially to provide support where needed for individuals with special needs. So that really came out of an interest and intent from family members back in 54 that were looking for help and support from the state and counties, and at that time there just wasn't any availability for that type of support services, and so through that they developed their own resources together, and that eventually evolved and morphed into what we now know as Arc of Maui County. So essentially where we see our services today are in a few main areas. That's residential, employment opportunities, community integration. Community integration can also include day programming. It can include individual special trainings and services that folks might need just for their own personal habilitation. So our focus is kind of, we keep honed in on a few specific things, but within that there's a number of opportunities to serve virtually the entire special needs community here on Maui.
So it seems, if I heard you correctly, it seems like this was a group of, at some point it was a group of children,
parents with children with special needs.
And there was nothing for the children. I mean, it was like you stay at home, that's it.
That's it, right.
And so ARC was created to bring them out of the home and somewhat into society, or at least have some help for the parents, because prior to that it was all up to the parents.
That's right. And the parents were really looking for something pretty simple, and that was to get support so that their children could live their lives to the fullest extent possible. And, that mission is our mission today. We want to make sure that, if you're not employed and you'd like to have a job, that's a something that we can help with. And so we're going to provide the resources, the training, any types of support services that are necessary for someone that wants to have a job to be able to go out into the community and be gainfully employed, regardless of, if they're considered, special needs or not. I mean, this is an opportunity with our employment rate being as low as it is, where virtually anyone that would like a job should be able to have that right.
There's something out there for them.
That's right.
It's just a matter of finding it and putting them together.
That's it. And sometimes employers are more than willing to have folks from all backgrounds and differences work for them, but they sometimes don't know what they need to provide and what the individual can bring to them. And so sometimes that's where we can step in and provide that type of information, and not only training for the client, but understanding for the employer that, here's an opportunity for an employee for you that's going to be someone that's going to be there. Many times we can provide staff to attend their shifts with them, at least initially, if not on an ongoing basis, to make sure that things go smoothly for the employer, because the last thing we want to do is set up both sides for failure.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to do anyone any good.
Right. Is there an age requirement? Young, old?
For ARG? No. We serve children through adulthood.
Okay. So I know one of the big programs that you have is your housing.
Right.
And I think last time you were on the show, you were just opening a new house here in Maui. And I understand now you have a total of 6, is it?
That's correct.
Around the county. Valerie, you want to shed some light on the houses?
Sure. We have 6 homes throughout Maui County, one on Molokai, and one that just opened in August in Waiahu. And those homes, generally speaking, we have approximately 5 individuals in each of those homes. And our Molokai home opened about a year and a half ago. And we do still have 1 bed available in Molokai. And so anyone interested in residential services should contact myself at ARCA Maui. And our home in Waiahu currently has 3 residents, but has the availability for 4. So we are looking for a 4th resident for that home as well. And the homes basically are designed for independence, increasing independence and self-determination. Individuals, are learning to live more independently, sometimes for the first time away from their families, which is sometimes a really hard transition, not only for the individuals, but for the families as well. So we incorporate the families as much as possible and as much as they want to be incorporated into the process of transitioning. But the homes are staffed 24/7. So we have overnight shifts and daytime shifts, and some of the residents attend day programs, as Rob was speaking to earlier. And so during the day, they may be out either at day programs or employed. So the goal, as Rob explained, is really we're focusing a lot on employment. And so that's one area that's really growing, and it's great to see that. And then while they're at home, they're working on learning, how to live independently. All of us need to learn housekeeping activities. And, personal care. Some individuals require a lot of assistance with personal care. We probably have the most, the highest need population in our homes on Maui. And so we have different licensing of our homes. We have intermediate care facility, which is a different type of license from a domiciliary license. It's just a different type of licensing and different regulations. And so the staffing is a little bit different depending on the needs of the individuals that are in the home. And we provide transportation. We like to, we focus a lot on getting them into the community as much as possible, getting them integrated with the community at large, allowing social opportunities and activities. We take them to all of their medical appointments, and then focus a lot on whatever goals they're working on, which include things that they have preferences for. There may be certain things that they're not interested in doing, and we take that into account. And then we focus a lot on trying to work on those things that will really improve their quality of life, and that's what we're all about, is improving quality of life.
Right. Now, would some of these that are living in these homes, would they at some time have gone to some school in their lifetime, or the early years?
Most, all of our residents currently in our homes are adults. So
Okay.
yes, most of them have been in special ed.
Okay.
In the schools. Probably 99% of them have been at some point in special education in the school. And we have a couple of residents that came straight from school. We have, I think our youngest resident right now is like 19 or 20. And so he was recently, at, he came from a care home, but he was at home, he went into a care home, he was in school, and then came to us. And once they come to us, they're generally either employed or in day program services, or getting one-on-one services in the community.
I see. So is the object of having these homes for them to be able to learn to live on their own, to go eventually out of this home into a standard apartment kind of a situation, or?
That would be the goal. However, we are a long-term care facility.
Okay.
So many of our residents have been with us for many years and will probably always be with us.
Okay.
There was a real push back in the 80s to get folks out of institutions and into the community.
Right.
So it is designed to be a transition, and we always are pushing towards more independent and less restrictive environments. But realistically, a lot of our folks may never transition out. We don't have a lot of opportunities for independent apartments
Okay.
on this island, and that would be something that we would love to see more of, because I think there are a lot of individuals that could function well in an independent apartment situation with some supports. So that would be awesome if we could get more funding for that.
Kind of the next step. And then that could be where they fulfill their lives.
Correct.
Interesting. So through your educational programs, you can get them jobs. And now they've got a roof over their head for as long as they need it. It sounds like. Would anybody? That was really a dumb question. I'm glad I didn't ask it.
There are no dumb questions.
When I can't get it out, it's telling me something. So no. But I was thinking, okay, what else would they turn to if somebody were to leave one of your homes? I mean, would they be going back to the family or some other?
It depends on the situation. We've had folks that have moved to the mainland.
Oh, okay.
We have had the most challenging thing on the outer islands is housing availability for accessible housing for folks in wheelchairs and with mobility issues. And that's one thing that we're sort of known for, is every one of our homes except for one is wheelchair accessible. So that is sometimes the challenge, is most of the time we are full. And so for those folks that don't have, when we don't have a bed available, sometimes those folks are forced to go off island, which is really pretty sad, especially if they have a support system here on Maui, their families, and it's the last thing you want to have to
Right.
do is have them move off island.
Right.
Because there are more opportunities for housing on Oahu, although they're also challenged with the same with some similar challenges
Right.
to what we have. So
If you had the money, wait, let me hold that for. We got to take a short break. We'll be right back with that question.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we're back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our executive directors and find out what they're doing to help folks with needs here on Maui. We're talking with the folks from ARC of Maui County. We've got Rob Lane, who's the CEO, and Valerie Sly, who's the program director for the ARC. The question that was about to come out of my mouth as we took a break was, if you had the funds, would that be your next step to build that next type of home, or is there much more need for what you're currently doing?
Well, I'd say that those types of housing situations where it's semi-independent, and you have so if you can envision, say, a six-unit apartment building, and one of the units is restricted for kind of a resident manager, the other 5 are clients living in their own apartments, and yet they still have that person that's on site that they can access overnight, or if they're gone during the day, then somebody else would come in and be available. And again, it really goes to providing the opportunity for people to live their lives to the fullest extent possible. So for most of us, that fullest extent means as independent as possible as well. And so those types of housing opportunities would be ideal. And I've had the opportunity to work and manage similar facilities to that back on the mainland, and they work and they're fundable. They're not without their challenges, but they are a nice opportunity for folks to have that as an alternative.
I see. Is now we've been talking about 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms. You were talking about 5 in a 6 apartment complex. Is that the optimal size? I mean, I don't see that you could actually build something big where you'd have 20 residents. That gets a little unwieldy.
Mm-hmm. And as Valerie had mentioned earlier, when we were talking before we got on the air, back in the 80s, when we went to deinstitutionalizing the great big, the psychiatric hospitals, and they, there were a couple of things that happened. Some states were proactive and said, did some market research and said, community integration is the way to go. Have folks live in the community in homes just like anyone else would. Other states weren't quite as forward thinking, and there became a ton of folks with developmental disabilities that were homeless and roaming the streets, some quite literally, but others in just very unfortunate situations and rental situations that weren't able to cope for that special need on top of the housing need.
Right.
And so, it really does become a balancing act when you look at opportunities, because funding, costs never seem to go down. They always go up, and we're tied to reimbursement from the state and the federal government. Eventually it gets down, makes it to us. And so we do with what we have, and try to make the best out of it. But it's always a challenge.
Is there ever a time when, like, say some of your people are employed, where they pay some portion back to ARC?
No.
As part of their rent or something?
They do have the opportunity for savings accounts, and it's interesting. Just up until very recently, there was a cap on the amount that folks could have in a savings account. So they could go out and get a job, but then they couldn't put it away. They had to spend it.
Oh.
And so, we were encouraging people to go out and spend their money. Don't look towards savings, so that you could maybe get an apartment that was more independent. But that just recently, there's been some change in the federal guidelines that are allowing folks with special needs to actually establish a savings account with their guardian's input. And it's here in Hawaii, it's still relatively new, but it is there, and that will give folks the opportunity to go out, be gainfully employed, and actually save money that won't cut off, because what would happen previously is it would actually cut off their funding from the government that would allow for them to stay at
I
ARC.
see. Okay.
And they'd say, oh, now you make too much money, so we're gonna, you're at that, you have $3,000 in your savings account, so you no longer need support for your
Catch-22.
room and board and health care, et cetera. So I mean, it's some of the things are a little bit silly that we have to deal with, but overall, we know the systems well enough to educate the families, because many times that's the challenge when you have a child with special needs. You have enough to deal with,
Right.
and you don't need to learn tax code on top of it.
Right.
So we have a terrific administrative support staff, and they do a wonderful job in facilitating all of that for our clients and the families as well.
Good. Getting back to the employment emphasis that you say is now in place, is it hard to convince a business owner that this particular person would be really good for you, and could do the job that you're looking for?
Sometimes it is challenging. I think that employers that aren't familiar with individuals with disabilities sometimes, are reluctant to hire someone with a disability. And I think the more exposure that employers have to folks with disabilities working in their, in their offices or their businesses, the more familiar and comfortable they become. And many times employers have found that our individuals are sometimes more reliable in many cases than folks in the general population. So I think it's just a matter of, sometimes it's a matter of educating, as I mentioned earlier, educating the business owners in regards to, they may not really know what job opportunity they may have for an individual, and that's sort of us, having a conversation. Well, what about this, or what about this, or could they do this, or do you think that this person could be freed up more if we had our person come in and and do some of these more, maybe possibly more menial tasks or different tasks that could free someone up to do something else. So I think it's a matter of educating the business communities, and there is a real push right now to do that as well. There's a business leadership network that they're working to put together to actually communicate this information to the businesses and get a relationship going with the business owners
Interesting.
and employers in
Yeah.
general.
Do you
Well, I was just going to add to that one of the benefits our clients can provide to employers is that they're not working two full-time jobs and needing to care for and pay for the needs of other people as well. And
Right.
so they can be more flexible in the number of hours. They can fill gaps. They can work more. They can work less. They can have that flexibility that most part-time staff, unfortunately, because they have other jobs, don't provide to their employers. And our folks that's one of our specialties, is that we can virtually create any type of schedule for them that can be flexible on a weekly or even daily basis if necessary.
Right, and they have that guaranteed ride to and from,
Exactly.
so transportation's not an issue. And I would think for a lot of these folks, it's they're starting to get a sense of pride in being able to do something.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. And I think the more, the more that we get folks into the community, the more it's a win-win really for everybody. And, it's our job to educate the community and to educate the employers. And I think the more that we are allowed to do that, and the more focus we put on that, the more it will benefit our individuals. And we've rarely had, a situation go badly. So it really is a rarity. In most cases, it really works out well. And the employers have been very happy that they made that decision.
We need to hear from some of those employers how this works for them and how wonderful it worked out, and how it did, as you said, free up somebody else to do more of what they were there for, rather than we call them menial tasks that we all have to do and hate doing, actually, but somebody's got to do it, and we're the only ones there.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think too, it's about, it's not just fitting our individuals in, for menial tasks. Obviously, the goal is to find something that individual really enjoys doing.
Right.
Because obviously, as you know, with all of us, the more we enjoy what we're doing, the more productive we are. And that's the goal, is to really try to hone in on what skills do they have, what are their preferences, and how can we match that, to an employer.
Right. Very good. Well, that's exciting, and you're right. I mean, this is something that I've not heard much about, and I know there's a couple of other agencies out there that do similar kinds of things, but not specifically this, and that's great. That's great. So I wish you well in your challenge to get more of your folks employed, and that's what the new year is all about, right?
Correct. Yeah, and I'd like to put it out there too, as far as our own agency, we're looking for staff. So right now there's sort of a shortage of employees, and so we're actively looking for folks that are interested in working in our with our individuals as well. So just like to put that out there too. So just give me a call if you're interested in working for our agency.
And that number is
242-5781, extension 211.
And your office is physically located at the Cameron Center?
We are at the Cameron Center.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for being with us today. I know I've learned some things.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. It's always terrific to come in and share a little bit about ARC of Maui with folks, and that's going to be one of our goals for our resolutions, is to have more people know about us in 2017.
Well, if we can help, let us know. We're here every Wednesday.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
Susie, for having us.
Thank you, Valerie and Rob. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you as
Thank
well.
you.
Thanks,
You
Susie.
too.
Thank you. Okay, shifting gears now. We've got Anthony Acosta, Director of Development for the Maui AIDS Foundation. And I know you don't ever have anything going on. You guys are just kind of sloughing off over there. But
Hi,
I know
Susie.
the big thing coming up quicker than we realize is your Mardi Gras.
Yeah, that's coming up in less than 2 months now. February 18th at the Four Seasons in Wailea. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year.
Isn't Mardi Gras later than that?
It's actually earlier, but unfortunately
really?
those dates were already
taken.
locked in. Yeah. So
Interesting.
So that's the date that we went with.
Oh,
But
okay.
Yeah, that's coming up before you know it.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I was trying to shoot back from Easter, and Easter is as late as it can be this year.
Right.
And so I was thinking, okay, because Mardi Gras would be 6 weeks before,
Right.
which would make it okay. Whatever, it's close.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. You gotta plan around when the hotels are available, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, we're kind of locked in that position.
Because you have a large crowd for this event.
We do, yeah. We generally expect about 500 folks. About 250 of those folks come for the VIP part of the event, which is a live silent auction, live entertainment, buffet, really great, fun opportunities to raise a lot of money. And then we open it up to general admission at 9 o'clock. And that's for folks to come enjoy DJ, dancing, photo booth, some silent auction opportunities. Yeah.
You name it.
Pretty much, you name it. Yeah.
And it's a dress up with the with the handheld mask kind of thing.
Yes, dress up. Costumes are highly encouraged.
Gotcha.
But you don't have to.
Oh,
Yeah, there's always guests. I always tell everybody, just dress comfortable.
It's
Come,
Maui.
have a good time. That shouldn't be anything. There shouldn't be anything you're worrying about that night.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've also taken, besides being director of development, you've taken on a kind of a second role at the Maui AIDS Foundation. You want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Sure, yeah. We've had a lot of reorganization going on at Maui AIDS Foundation. I've been moved into the program coordinator position for our LGBTQ youth empowerment program, which is a program designed for youth ages 13 to 24, a safe space for gay youth on island, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. We meet about twice a month with opportunities to socialize, little bit of educational pieces, community engagement, activities, really just trying to stratify a network of support for all the individuals who are involved.
Now, are these are folks who have acknowledged that they are, how do I say this? I just put myself in a box.
LGBTQ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have some who come, or are they allowed to come if they haven't?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So folks don't need to identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual. They can also be questioning. So they may or may not know.
Is that what the Q stands for?
Questioning, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I learned something.
Yeah.
I noticed that got tacked on here. I'm not used to seeing that.
There's always a letter getting tacked on to this. It's hard to keep up. But yes, folks who are questioning their identity are always welcome to come into the space, whether that be gender identity or sexual identity. The idea is to let them know that you're not alone and that there is a space for you to ask questions, to meet other like-minded people, find support, etc.
That's got to be a hard place to be in, not knowing where you fit.
Yeah, it's very hard. I think the data that we've collected shows that youth will often isolate themselves, fall deep into depression, substance abuse. So it's a very hard situation to be in, especially if there is no support or if nobody's talking about it. It makes you feel like maybe you're the only person, and who can I talk to?
Right.
Which, it makes it very hard.
So that the drugs, alcohol, whatever they might turn to becomes acting out this loss of place,
Right.
or sense of place.
Kind of a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Although unhealthy, it's a way to cope with that
A
depression.
way to not have to
and
think about
sadness.
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
And-
that's why it's so important that a program like this exists for Maui, because we work with youth on a regular basis who have talked to us about suicide, about substance abuse, issues at home, getting kicked out of the house. These are real lives happening today, and there's not a program like this that exists. So it's real important for us to have it.
How young are folks questioning?
We have youth participants as young as 13 who are in the program, but we've worked with youth between the ages of 7 years old and
Oh my gosh,
13
really?
who already know or are trying to understand the language to say who they are. Nobody, like I said, really talks about it, so trying to name who you are
Yeah.
without anybody giving you information or education makes it very tricky.
And on the other hand, if you're saying that you think you are, it's like you're too young to know. What are you talking about? Must
Right.
be a common response.
I think a lot of parents consider it a phase, possibly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Time for a short break. We'll be right back with Anthony Acosta of Maui AIDS Foundation.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
Maybe next year we should come up with some New Year's music for this week between. It's just kind of I don't know, it's such a letdown. Yeah? I mean, I haven't taken my CDs out of my radio yet because I'm still listening to
Still in the
Christmas.
spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it goes all the way through for me to Epiphany. You know, I'm the only one in my neighborhood with my decorations outside lit up till Epiphany. I'm sorry. But that's when, according to the book that I was taught by, that's when the wise men finally got to the manger. So then that's the official, and the last gifts were given.
Sure.
Okay, how do we get on that subject? Anyway, talking about AIDS and actually talking about related subjects to AIDS, you were talking about the LGBTQ youth. I'm still stunned at the age at which some children are responsive to what's going on with them and their bodies.
Sure.
I don't, do they understand what they're saying?
Well, I think they know who they are. It's explaining that to adults that is hard because, the youth are generally protected from those things that parents are fearful of,
Right.
like being gay or being transgender. So in my family, at least, we didn't have open conversations about that. That was something that I learned much later in life. However, I knew at 5 years old that I was gay and
Really?
that I was attracted to men. So, and I know that many other people feel the same way and many other people don't. I think everybody has their own unique experience with understanding their identity.
Interesting. But you had to learn outside of the home
Yes.
what all that involved and before you committed to that kind of a life.
Well,
Now, I mean, you didn't commit to it at 5, but
Well,
learning over the next few years what it meant.
I think for gay youth, for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender youth, they learn, unfortunately, in a very negative and discriminatory way. These kids, from the surveys that we did, about 71.3% of youth say that they hear homophobic slurs every day at school. So that's, boys being called a faggot as young as first grade, or girls being called a dyke at that age. So these youth are hearing these words as they're going through school. So they know that there's something different about them, but the only word they know is what they're hearing from the bullies at school. Nobody's talking to them and educating them about sexual identity, gender identity, what's the difference, what does it mean, puberty, how puberty is different for women who have sex with women, for men who have sex with men. There's a lot of information there, and it's not talked about. And youth have a lot of questions, and the only information they're getting is from those bullies at school,
Right.
from online. I mean, this day and age, you can get online. Back in my day, we
it's
didn't have
awful.
the internet.
Yeah. And how much do you want to pay attention to what's online?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're learning from all the wrong. And when you talk about the bullies who are throwing these words out, most of them probably don't even know what the words mean.
Right.
It's just they've heard them
Correct.
and they've been used in a negative manner, and that's what they're trying to keep pushing.
Correct.
So that's why the youth program that you're talking about is so important.
Right.
And is that open to younger youth?
We keep the we have access to the program for parents whose youth are 13 years or younger.
Okay.
We definitely want them to know that there is support, whether or not they can fit into the program, which is designed more for 13 to 20-year-olds,
Right.
Is a different question. But ensuring them that their support is really important to us.
And bringing the parents in has got to be an important
Absolutely.
piece of that.
Absolutely. The parents are our champions. We have a lot of parents who get involved in the program specifically because they want to learn and they want to understand how to best support their child. And I think that that's very important.
Right. Yeah, because parents have come from that generation that this was a do not discuss subject.
Right.
For many, I mean, you're now entering the next generation, which has discussed it.
Right.
But the thought that their child might be has still got to be a scary thing to a lot of parents.
Definitely. You get online and you look for resources. How's the best way to support your kid? When you Google LGBT youth resources on Maui, there's very, very, very little information about who to contact, where to go, what type of support is offered. So it makes Empowered, our youth program at Maui AIDS Foundation, super, super critical, not only for the parents, but mostly for the youth. The youth are at school all day being bullied. The youth are trying to determine their gender identity, their sexual identity, and they're trying to do that privately because they don't have anybody who they can talk to about that, which I'm sure you can imagine would lead to isolation, sadness, depression, not feeling like you belong. And something as little as having a group 2 times a month and letting these youth know we're here. This is how you get in touch with us. This is where you find the information that you need. Not to sound generic, but I think it does save lives.
Well, I would certainly think so because you're putting it out there for them what it means. You're putting in an explanation to what they're feeling,
Right.
or how or why, and I would think in some cases for the parents who come to these sessions, you're kind of opening the door and explaining what it truly is, and there may be some of these children who are thinking they're part of this community, but they're not really. It's something they have this image of. Does that make sense? You see where I'm going? They've heard enough about it that they're curious, and so they think by saying I'm that way, that's gonna help them fit in someplace. But the reverse is usually the truth.
Yeah, I would say the reverse is usually the truth.
Yeah.
I don't think any child would want to be bullied and feel suicidal just to fit in.
Right.
So, no, I think that youth are boxed in to those assumptions that people make about their capacity to think for themselves, to be themselves. We all know who we are at birth. I mean, I like to throw out the question, when did you know you were heterosexual? And folks will look at me like I'm crazy. But they'll ask me, when did I know I was gay?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think on the other side, I mean, like for myself, I don't think I ever questioned any of that.
right.
That's how life was around me. That's how we are.
You're born that way.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of when I first learned of someone who was not. And that's pretty far down the road. So, you do all the things just naturally. But if you are lesbian or gay or whatever, all the, I keep going into all
Bisexual,
these different,
transgender questioning.
I guess it's a matter of something's wrong, something's different. this is supposed to be enjoyable, you know, or I'm supposed to want to have a date, or I'm supposed to want to do this. I don't want to.
Or I want to, but everybody around me is telling me it's wrong. Everybody around me is
there you
telling
go.
me that's not how I should act.
Yeah.
So it makes it
That's-
very tricky.
yeah, that's your first
to want
exposure
to
to
be
it.
yourself.
Yeah.
Because of all of the discrimination you get back
Right.
from that.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be tough to be a kid today.
I would totally agree. I think even more with the age of technology and social media, when I was a kid, you would leave school, you would leave the bullying at school. These days, youth come home from school and they're still getting bullied online.
Right.
I mean, it's just never ending for them, which I can't imagine.
No.
Like you're saying, that must be much harder.
Oh boy. So I have a special appreciation for parents who are raising children today, because it is much more of a challenge, I think, than it ever was when I was a kid, or when folks like me were raising kids. I mean, I'm looking at a situation where I could be I hate to say it, I won't say it. I keep saying, I could be a great grandmother. Think about it. And then you look at somebody, and somebody's 10 years younger than I am, and they're a great grandmother. I said, wait, that's pushing it. But it's like, the things that we still feel are so important. To look at someone today and say, you're not going to have that. If you were a part of this. Well, you do, but in a different way. And I think the world today has accepted enough these changes and these open expressions by people. I mean, let's face it, we've got children being raised by gay couples. Is that a bad thing? I'm not going to go into that. The quality of life is what counts. Help me out here. I'm getting down a road I can't come back from. But I think it's good to discuss the possibilities, and I like the idea of the having a support program where the parents are invited to be a part of it.
Definitely.
And to learn with the children what it's all about.
Yes.
Because I think in most cases the parents know maybe even less than the kids do.
Right. And I think it's also good for the youth to see adult professionals who are gay, who are doing really great work in the community. We have a large population of gay professionals on this island. And for them to be special guests to the group and to come in and talk about their experiences, and for the youth to kind of see themselves in these people or different parts of themselves, and these people gives them hope or inspires them or motivates them to, to take that next step in their education or to go after their dreams of being an artist or,
Right.
just like all of us appreciate having a mentor who can help us be the best person that we can be. The youth at this age are desperately looking for folks
Right.
like that.
I would think that the hardest part would be trying to deny it, to deny yourself that life. You should embrace it and make your life the best it can be. Whereas, again, I go back to this program. If you're in there questioning whether you are or not, and your parents have no way to support you one way or another, or in the case of some parents where they just absolutely say, no, my son's not like that. You're denying your child a chance at real life because their life is always going to have this piece that's missing. Am I on the right track there?
I mean, I don't have children, so I couldn't speak to that, but I definitely think that if I were a parent, I would be open to listening to my child. And if I notice that my child tends to be more feminine or more masculine or is different or is acting different than the gender they're biologically assigned, then maybe they identify as a transgender person. It's not something that personally would scare me. Like you're saying, you deny your child the right to be themselves. there's a whole life you're taking away from them. So for us to have parents engaged and involved and to celebrate these youth is a huge deal for us, and we're very happy to offer that.
So you say they meet twice a month?
We meet twice a month. The dates generally change, but if you want more information, you can contact Anthony, myself, at Maui AIDS Foundation. The number is 242-4900, and we can get you connected to the program. We can get you more information, answer any questions that you might have. Yeah,
There's so much more we were going to talk about today.
I know.
But it's the end of the year, and I think we've put something out there for people to think about.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important. I don't know whether people do New Year's resolutions anymore or not, but maybe somebody's resolutions would be to look further into this and give their children the best chance at life, given parameters,
Absolutely.
whatever they are.
I'm counting on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony,
Thank you,
thank you so
Susie.
much. And again, don't forget about the Mardi Gras coming up on February...
Saturday, February 18th
18th.
at the Four Seasons in Wailea. Yep. Tickets available now at www.mauiaids.org.
There you go. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Susie.
Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. The Maui Nonprofit Directors Association's mission is to provide personal and professional support to nonprofit executive directors, their organizations, and the community of Maui. Please visit our website at mauinonprofit.org for a list of member agencies. And if you see one there that you're interested in learning more about, please go to that website and take a good look. And then give someone there a call or stop by their agency and see what you could do to work with them or help them with their projects. Today we visited with the folks from the Arc of Maui. We talked a little bit about their programs. The especially interesting to me was the educational program and getting folks into employment. I think that's a wonderful idea. And it's a sense of pride for these folks with the developmental disabilities to be able to get out there and be productive. We visited with Rob Lane, the CEO, and Valerie Sly, the program director. Give Valerie a call at 242-5781, extension 211. Again, that's 242-5781, extension 211. We also visited with Anthony Acosta, who's the Director of Development for the Maui AIDS Foundation, and talked about the LGBTQ youth programs that the Maui AIDS Foundation has that they're running. Give him a call at 242-4900 and learn more about them. Oh, this was a busy day. I learned a lot. Sometimes we get certain agencies in here on a kind of a regular basis, and then it's okay, we know what's going on, and then we bring in like the two of you with some new ideas, new energy going out in other directions, and it's great to hear what's happening. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. Don't forget to join us again next week, right here, same time, same place. That's January 4th. Oh my gosh, 2017. We'll be right here on KAOI Radio. We'll feature members of two more agencies of the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. Until then, I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great week, everyone. Happy New Year. Aloha.